What's up, YouTube? Zorc the Dark One here, and I would like to start off by thanking the following people: Phoenix Ashes for narrating this video for me, Alora Scott for creating the thumbnail for me, and Silver Princess for helping me write the script. I will be linking their channels down in the description below. And also, before we start, I would like to issue a disclaimer that the views expressed in this video do not necessarily reflect those of Phoenix Ashes, of Alora Scott, or of Silver Princess. With that out of the way, guys, please enjoy this Samara Morgan versus Jason Voorhees video.
One of them is an unstoppable force of nature, a machine-wielding giant who has survived gunshots, explosions, and even death itself. The other is a vengeful spirit whose curse spreads like a plague, killing anyone who watches her cursed videotape exactly 7 days later. One of them kills anyone he comes across as quickly as he can, driven by the trauma of his childhood drowning and his mother's murder. The other kills those who watch her tape, taking her time in tormenting them, her rage born from years of abuse and the agony of being thrown alive into a well. Both of them were outcasts as children. Jason Voorhees from the Friday the 13th franchise, hideously deformed and mocked by cruel campers. Samara Morgan from the Ring series, a girl with terrifying psychic powers that made her own mother fear her. Both of them died via drowning, their final moments of terror transforming them into something far beyond human. And both of them are pure rage incarnate, supernatural embodiments of vengeance that cannot be reasoned with, cannot be stopped, and cannot rest. But what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? When Jason's physical brutality collides with Samara's supernatural curse, which monster would emerge victorious from this clash of horror icons? Jason Voorhees' story begins not with violence, but with tragedy and neglect. Born with severe facial deformities, including hydrocephalus, young Jason was a target of merciless bullying at Camp Crystal Lake in 1957. The counselors, who should have been watching over the children in their care, were too preoccupied with their own romantic escapades to notice when the other campers turned cruel. They chased the deformed boy to the lake's edge, mocking his appearance, and pushed him into the water. Jason, who had never learned to swim because of his condition, thrashed helplessly in the murky depths as the laughter faded above him. He drowned alone, terrified, and abandoned by those who were supposed to protect him. His body was never recovered. When his mother, Pamela Voorhees, discovered that negligence had killed her only son, she snapped, murdering the counselors she held responsible and ensuring Camp Crystal Lake would never reopen. But death was not the end for Jason. Whether through his mother's grief, the lake's dark power, or sheer force of will, Jason Voorhees returned, no longer a frightened child, but a relentless, undead killer, driven by an insatiable need to punish anyone who dares set foot on the cursed ground where he died. Samara Morgan's story is equally steeped in suffering and rejection. Born with powerful psychic abilities that she could neither control nor understand, Samara was a child cursed from birth. Even as an infant, her biological mother attempted to drown her, recognizing something unnatural and terrifying in her own newborn child. Though Samara survived to be adopted by the Morgan family, her curse followed her. Her adoptive mother, Anna Morgan, quickly realized that her daughter was not like other children. Wherever Samara went, terrible things happened. Horses threw themselves off cliffs, disturbing images burned themselves into people's minds, and an oppressive aura of dread followed the girl like a shadow. Anna's maternal love curdled into terror and hatred as she became convinced that her daughter was evil incarnate, a demon wearing a child's face. Unable to bear Samara's presence any longer, Anna made a horrific decision. She lured her daughter to the old well behind their barn, pulled a bag over her head to suffocate her, and pushed her inside. For 7 days, Samara clung to life in that lightless pit, her fingernails scraping against the stone walls as she slowly starved and dehydrated, becoming too weak to stay afloat, and eventually drowned. When death finally came, it did not bring peace. Samara's psychic powers, amplified by her rage and anguish, transcended death itself. She poured her dying hatred into a cursed videotape, a vessel for her vengeance that would allow her to kill again and again, spreading her suffering to anyone unfortunate enough to press play. Jason Voorhees possesses abilities that transcend mere mortal resilience and enter the realm of the truly supernatural. His strength is utterly inhuman. He can crush skulls with his bare hands, tear people in half, punch through solid steel doors, and lift full-grown adults over his head with one arm as if they weighed nothing. He has bent metal bars, ripped heads clean of bodies, and driven his victims through walls with single blows. This monstrous strength is matched only by his legendary durability. He has shrugged off countless machete wounds, axe blows to the head, and even being impaled on his own weapons. Gunshots barely slow him down, and attempts to burn, electrocute, or drown him again have all failed. But Jason's endurance goes far beyond what most would consider possible for any undead creature. He has survived Earth's atmospheric re-entry, his body burning through the stratosphere before crashing back to the planet's surface, and he has endured the vacuum of space itself, where lack of oxygen and extreme temperatures would obliterate any normal being. When dragged into Freddy Krueger's dream world in the film Freddy vs. Jason, a realm where Freddy holds godlike power over reality itself, Jason fought the dream demon to a standstill. In Friday the 13th Part 7, Tina Shepard, a girl with devastating telekinetic abilities, unleashed her full psychic might against him in their confrontation, hurling him through walls, collapsing structures on top of him, and even resurrecting her own father's corpse to fight him. Yet Jason endured every assault and kept coming. In his encounter with the Deadites, demonic entities from the Evil Dead film series, Jason bulldozed through several of these supernatural horrors with brutal efficiency. Perhaps most impressively, in the crossover comic Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash, when the Necronomicon Ex Mortis opened a vortex designed to consume and imprison evil itself, Jason proved too strong to be pulled inside, his raw power defying even ancient mystical forces that had contained countless demons before him. Samara Morgan's powers operate on an entirely different plane of existence, rooted not in physical might but in psychological torment and supernatural manipulation. Her most infamous ability is the Cursed Videotape, a manifestation of her psychic energy that functions as a death sentence for anyone who views it. Once watched, the victim receives a phone call foretelling their death in exactly 7 days, and when that deadline arrives, Samara emerges from any nearby television screen or reflective surface to claim her victim, stopping their heart with sheer terror. But the videotape is merely one expression of Samara's far-reaching abilities. Her psychic powers allow her to project disturbing, nightmarish images directly into people's minds, driving them to madness or suicide. She can manipulate electronic devices at will, causing televisions to turn on spontaneously, phones to ring with no caller, and recordings to become infected with her presence. Her mere presence warps reality around her, creating an atmosphere of overwhelming dread that can break even the strongest wills. Animals sense her evil and react with primal terror, and photographs of her victims become distorted, their faces twisted, in an expressions of pure horror. Most crucially, Samara cannot be destroyed by conventional means. Her curse is self-perpetuating, spreading from victim to victim like a supernatural plague, ensuring that her vengeance continues long after each individual death. Despite his seemingly unstoppable nature, Jason Voorhees does have exploitable weaknesses, the most significant being his physical form itself. While he cannot truly die, as even being blown to pieces has failed to end him permanently, he can be stopped through overwhelming physical damage. If his body sustains catastrophic injury faster than his healing factor and endurance can compensate, Jason is forced into a dormant, sleep-like state to recover. This regenerative hibernation can last anywhere from days to years, depending on the severity of the damage, effectively removing him from the battlefield. His limited intelligence is another considerable setback. Jason operates on instinct and raw aggression, rather than strategy or cunning. Most of his skills succeed because his victims are reckless teenagers, making foolish decisions in his territory, not because Jason employs sophisticated hunting tactics. He rarely puts much thought into how he dispatches his prey, relying instead on brute force and his supernatural persistence. This lack of intellect makes him vulnerable to illusions and misdirection, as even something as simple as throwing a rock to create a noise in the opposite direction can distract him, pulling his attention away from his actual target. Additionally, Jason rarely wanders outside the Crystal Lake's boundaries of his own volition. When he does leave his domain, it's typically involuntary, as a stowaway on a departing vessel in Friday the 13th, Part 8, transported against his will in Jason X, or manipulated by outside forces when Freddy Krueger lured him to Springwood in Freddy vs. Jason. After these excursions, Jason's instinct invariably drives him to return home to the lake where he died. Samara Morgan's weaknesses are deceptively simple, yet reveal the limitations of her curse-based existence. The most straightforward defense against her is also the most obvious: don't watch her tape. Without a viewer to trigger the curse, Samara remains powerless, trapped in her well, and unable to claim new victims. Her entire method of killing relies on someone voluntarily pressing play, making avoidance her greatest vulnerability. However, for those who have already watched the cursed videotape that Samara herself inadvertently created, by copying the tape and showing it to another person, the original viewer breaks free from the 7-day death sentence, transferring the curse to the new victim instead. This reveals a critical flaw in Samara's design. Her vengeance is not truly unstoppable, but rather dependent on a chain of willing participants. Each person who discovers this escape method can save themselves by condemning another, turning her curse into a parasitic cycle that requires constant propagation to maintain its power. Unlike Jason, whose physical presence allows him to hunt, kill regardless of his victim's actions, Samara is bound by the rules of her own curse. She cannot simply appear and kill at will. She must wait for someone to watch, must wait for the 7 days to pass, and must accept that her victims can escape if they understand how her curse operates. When comparing Jason Voorhees and Samara Morgan, the most striking similarity is that both are rage incarnate, pure, undiluted fury given supernatural form. They are driven by an insatiable need to kill and destroy others, their existences defined entirely by vengeance for the suffering they endured in life. Yet despite this shared foundation of wrath, their methods of inflicting death could not be more different, revealing fundamentally opposed philosophies of murder. Samara takes a deeply personal, psychological approach to her kills. She doesn't simply end lives, she breaks her victims down mentally over the course of 7 agonizing days, mirroring her own torment as she slowly died in that well. Her victims experience escalating dread, horrifying visions that invade their minds, and the inescapable knowledge that death is coming for them. When Samara finally emerges to claim them, she kills by literally scaring them to death, bombarding them with such nightmarish imagery that their hearts simply stop from pure terror. Though she is vengeful, there's an undeniable element of sadism to Samara's methodology, as she enjoys the terror she inflicts, savoring each victim's psychological deterioration as payment for her own suffering. Jason, by contrast, is utterly indifferent to his victims' emotional states. He doesn't care if they feel terror or not. More than half his kills are so swift and brutal that his victims barely register his presence before death takes them. A machete through the skull, a spear through the chest, crushed bones and severed limbs delivered with mechanical efficiency. It's commonly accepted among those who study his pattern that Jason has no understanding of what evil actually is. He operates as more of a wild, untamed animal than a calculating killer. His only goal is to kill. It doesn't matter who, how, or with what instrument. If there's no weapon around, he will simply use his bare hands to snap necks and crush skulls. You can drop Jason into any environment, and as long as people are around, he will kill them. There's no ritual, no message, no deeper meaning, only brutal, immediate violence. The encounter between these two titans of terror would require a specific set of circumstances to even begin. Jason would need to watch the tape for Samara to get a hold of him, and given that he has no concept of what a tape even is, much less the curiosity to sit down and watch one, we'll assume one of his victims happens to be watching the cursed video when Jason kills them. Perhaps the tape continues playing as Jason stands over the fresh corpse, the flickering images reflected in his hockey mask, unwittingly triggering Samara's curse. Samara would immediately sense the rage within Jason, and she would find it intriguing. Here is someone whose fury rivals her own, a kindred spirit born from drowning and abandonment. She would spend the 7 days creating visions and illusions specifically tailored to break him down, projecting images of his childhood tormentors, his mother's death, the lake that claimed him. The problem with Jason, however, is that while we've established he is vulnerable to illusions in the sense that they can divert his attention, they do absolutely nothing to affect him emotionally or psychologically. In terms of, oh my god, it's supernatural, he really couldn't care less. Jason is so consumed with the need to kill that it overtakes any capacity for reasoning, shock, or fear. In Freddy vs. Jason, he was flanked around by Freddy Krueger in the dream realm like a ragdoll, and didn't so much as show surprise. He was telekinetically attacked by Tina Shepard in Friday the 13th, Part 7, lifted into the air, hurled through structures, assaulted by a barrage of psychic power, and he simply ignored it, getting back up each time to continue his hunt. He even attacked a group of Deadites in Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash without any hesitation, treating supernatural demons with the same brutal indifference he shows teenage camp counselors. Samara's psychological warfare, her greatest weapon, would be utterly wasted on a being incapable of experiencing the terror she feeds upon. Once the 7th day hits, Samara would finally emerge from the nearest screen or reflective surface, ready to claim what she believes is another helpless victim, and it's not even close to the outcome she expects. Samara would use her abilities to burn horrifying images directly into Jason's mind, projecting nightmarish visions designed to stop his heart with pure terror. His reaction would be, cool. Anyway, no, seriously, he wouldn't so much as blink. Maybe he might show a flicker of fascination for the few moments it takes his primitive brain to register that something unusual is happening, but all it would accomplish is annoy him and make him angrier. Even if he could somehow register, oh no, that is so scary, his heart already doesn't beat anyway. He's an undead revenant whose body functions through supernatural means, not biological processes. Samara's signature killing method, stopping her victim's heart through overwhelming fear, is completely useless against something that has no heartbeat to stop and no capacity to feel terror. And to be fair, Jason wouldn't be able to do anything to Samara either. His machine would just swing uselessly through her astral form, passing through her translucent body like smoke. He could chase her, grab at her, even try to crush her with his bare hands, but without a physical form to destroy, all his brute strength amounts to nothing. Thus, this verdict ends in a draw and an embarrassing failure on Samara Morgan's part. She has finally encountered prey she cannot break, cannot terrify, and cannot kill. A being whose rage matches her own, but whose nature makes him completely immune to everything that makes her dangerous. Jason, for his part, would simply stand there in frustrated confusion before eventually wandering back to Crystal Lake, while Samara retreats back into her cursed tape, forced to accept that not every victim can be claimed by fear alone. However, there is a far more realistic and terrifying outcome to consider. Samara would explore her psyche during those 7 days, peeling back the layers of rage and violence, and she would find something unexpected. Deep down, Jason's mind never aged past being a child. Beneath the hulking, murderous exterior is still that frightened, deformed boy who drowned alone in Camp Crystal Lake, desperately wanting his mother's love and protection. And this is where the real terror would begin. Samara would empathize with Jason in a way no one else ever could. Both were children who suffered, both were abandoned, both drowned in darkness. Similar to Freddy Krueger's manipulation of Jason in Freddy vs. Jason, she would bend him to do her bidding, but her approach would be far more insidious and effective. Jason would represent a new portal for Samara, a physical vessel through which she could instill terror and violence whenever and wherever she wants, with little to no limitation. She could send him after people who survived her curse by making copies, hunting down those who thought they had escaped her vengeance. Unlike Freddy, however, who tormented and mocked Jason in the dream world, Samara would actually be kind to him. She would make the little boy within his psyche feel loved and appreciated for the first time since his mother's death. She would use her powers to project happy memories into Jason's mind, visions of his mother holding him, telling him he's a good boy, that she's proud of him, that he's finally doing exactly what he was meant to do. This really is a nightmare scenario, because Samara would essentially gain an unstoppable physical force to complement her supernatural curse. Jason's invulnerability, his relentless nature, his ability to exist in the physical world, all of it would become an extension of Samara's will. She would have a loyal, indestructible enforcer who would never question her, never betray her, and never stop killing. The two most vengeful beings in horror would become a unified entity of pure destruction. Both Samara and Jason are the epitome of rage and vengeance, two souls twisted by childhood trauma and drowning into supernatural instruments of death. But their methods could not be more different, revealing fundamentally incompatible approaches to murder. Jason kills because that's all he knows how to do. He genuinely doesn't understand his actions are wrong. He operates on pure instinct, a feral predator without morality or comprehension of evil. Samara kills because she wants the fear and terror that come with a person knowing their demise is upon them. She savors the psychological breakdown, the 7 days of mounting dread, the final moment when her victim's heart stops from sheer horror. But Samara would have no effective way of killing Jason, and her incredible powers bank entirely on fear and mortality, two things Jason simply does not possess. Jason has no fear to exploit, and even if he did have the capacity for terror, he can't be killed by conventional or supernatural means. His undead heart doesn't beat, making her signature method of stopping hearts through fright completely useless. Likewise, Jason can't harm Samara. His machete, his supernatural strength, his relentless brutality, all of it means nothing against an enemy with no physical form to destroy. This is the perfect example of the unstoppable force meeting the immovable object. They cancel each other out. Jason represents the unstoppable force because he cannot be killed, cannot be reasoned with, and will never stop coming. Samara represents the immovable object because she has no physical form to move, no body to damage, and exists as pure psychic energy bound to her curse. In a straightforward confrontation, neither can claim victory. The match ends in a stalemate, a draw between two of horror's most terrifying killers, each rendered powerless by the very nature of what makes the other so deadly.